Holy smokies, guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to finish up the second part of the New Mexico video. It's all about gold. So let's kind of move in here. I've got a couple of creeks and rivers, 8 of them to be exact, that I know for a fact have gold. So I'm just going to kind of run through these pretty quick because I've got a nice story about some treasure at the end that you might want to go look into. It's been lost and it's legit. It's legit. You got to go check it out. The 8 rivers real fast. We have Moreno River, and placer gold's been mined on the western side of that river. You got the Rio Chama River, and there's placer mining going on upstream of Abuqui, and you can get it in the river gravels throughout the Rio Chama Valley. You got the Pecos River, and there's a bunch of places around the Sangre de Cristo and stuff like that. So you got the Santa Fe River, and the gold from this one is from the Sangre de Cristo Mountains as well, most likely. There's gold in the Rio Grande River as well, and it's actually not that bad. So the source of the gold is likely the Taos Mountains that produce those lodes. And the Rio Hondo River also is a place to check out. There isn't a lot of information about it historically, but there are some low-grade placer deposits that we know of. Probably some decent ones if you go find them. And then you got the Cimarron River. That's around the town of Folsom. And there is good gold to be found there, but it's from the eroding basalt sources. And it's small particles, but it occurs throughout the river. And then you got the Moro River, guys. Alright, and that's it for the actual rivers themselves. Let's move into my article about gold and kind of the history. So New Mexico has nowhere near the gold production of Arizona, its neighbor to the west. But still, the New Mexico lodes have produced quite a bit of gold over the past few centuries. But more lode, but still some placer. Although Spanish explorers and Mexican settlers found gold, the Apache tribes made it pretty dang stinking hard for them to do any serious mining. The majority of gold production has come since whites settled the area in 1848, and much of the gold that has come is a byproduct of mining for other stuff. So you definitely got to go look for those placer and bench deposits. The lode you can also get to, but if you can find a good placer or bench deposit, you know you have a good lode somewhere around. The extremely dry climate in New Mexico is probably the highest reason that it's tough to get gold. It's definitely very little water access throughout most of the areas that bear the gold, so that's a very limiting factor. But the best tools for finding gold nuggets in most areas would be dry washers and metal detectors. They're not going to get you all the flour gold though. It comes down to honing your technique. Searching in areas that gold has been found in the past is always a good idea to start. So let's go through a few of the most productive districts in New Mexico that I know of before I get to that treasure story. So in Elizabethtown, the Elizabethtown Baldy district, it was the most productive along the west side of the Mount Baldy. There were paying gravels in Grouse and Humbug Creek, as well as the Moreno River. You've got, well over 100,000 ounces that came from this area, including many large nuggets. So, and if those were placers, bro, you can be sure that there's going to be some good lodes in those mountains. They occur on the east side of Mount Baldy, where rich gravels can be found at South Pawnell, Ute, and Willow Creeks. All right, and the Hillsborough district. This is located in the southwest part of the state and produced significant gold in cemented and uncemented gravels. So cemented would be the ones that are like ancient and cemented, and then uncemented gravels would be newer ones, as far as I know. I believe that's how it goes. These are dry placers with gold production coming from the dryland dredges and dry washing in rich gulches in the area. So Hillsborough district, guys. The old placers, I'm assuming that's a district. They're located southwest of Santa Fe. And nearby are the new placers, which are known for producing very high purity gold. All right. And last but not least is the Pinos Altos, and it's a dry placer district just a few miles north of Silver City. And you can basically find it in Rich, Whiskey, Santo Domingo Gulch, and Bear Creek. So that's actually it for the localities that I know of. But let's go check out the cool Victorio Peak, New Mexico mystery treasure. I'm gonna have to be quick with this, guys. In 1933, you got a group of people going out deer hunting, one of them being a guy named Doc with his girl Ova, nicknamed Babe. And they basically ended up settling down in what's now called Truth or Consequences. But they were out in 1937, actually, on that deer hunt. And the Victoria Peak is a craggy outcropping of rock, barely 500 feet tall, but it lies in the center of the desert lake known as the Hembrillo Basin. And pretty much it's now encompassed in the White Sands National Missile Range. But check it out, guys. While out hunting by himself, and they were camped at that mountain, it rained and he took cover underneath of an outcrop. And that ended up having a stone at the bottom of it that he said looked like it had been worked in some fashion. So he opened it up and it was actually a tunnel. It was a hole. So they thought they had an old mining shaft. There was a wood beam that went down one side, and they didn't trust it, and they didn't trust anybody else, so they didn't tell anybody about it. But they came back with ropes and flashlights, and when they went down in there, he ended up going probably like almost 200 feet down and found a room with a human skeleton. I'm gonna actually read this real quick. So Doc was alarmed when he saw a human skeleton kneeling and securely tied to a stake driven into the ground. The skeleton's hands were bound behind its back, and apparently the person had been deliberately left there to die. Within moments he found more skeletons, most of them bound and secured to stakes like the first, and exploring further he found yet even more skeletons, stacked in a small enclosure, much like a burial chamber. All told, he reportedly found 27 human skeletons in the caverns of the mountain. So, but he basically kept looking, and as Doc continued to explore the side caverns, he found a hoard of treasure, including coins, jewels, saddles, and priceless artifacts, like a gold statue of the Virgin Mary. He also found some old letters, and some of them were dated to 1880, and some went back into the 1700s. So this treasure was only the beginning, though, because in a deeper cavern, Doc found what he thought was a stack of worthless iron bars. Needless to say, he couldn't bring them all up, so he ended up stuffing his pockets with gold coins, grabbed a couple of jeweled swords, and laboriously returned to Babe waiting anxiously at the surface. She told him to go back down and get one of them bars. Turns out their gold just had black grime over them. And after the discovery of the treasure, they spent every free moment exploring the tunnels inside the mountain, living in a tent at the base of the peak. And so they would retrieve a bunch of stuff, but Doc trusted no one, not even his babe, disappearing into the desert, hiding pieces of the treasure in places that he never revealed. And this is legit, guys. This is still out there. So, and you're talking, there was a lot that he buried. Among the artifacts, Doc is reported to have retrieved documents dated to 1797, which he buried with a bunch of other stuff in a Wells Fargo chest. And the original has never been recovered, but a verifiable copy of the document proved to be a translation from Pope Pius III. So they're basically right there at World War I, and the ownership of gold was banned, basically, so they could have a push for resources. But he, being paranoid of even his wife and not being able to sell it on the open market, buried lots of it, most of it. And others believe that he buried 2/3, if not all of it, and only showed certain amounts. But it's kind of sketchy. You'll have to look in for yourself. When Doc's story eventually hit the headlines, people thought he found the Casa del Cuerva de Oro, so that's Spanish for House of the Golden Cave. And some people thought he found the treasure of Don Juan de Ornet, who was in 1598. And then somebody else just transferred more stuff into it who had already been, known about it. So that's it for the video, guys. I hope it was informative. If you got this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you go out and find some cool stuff. For our sake here at the channel, I'm gonna do a call to action. You guys should subscribe. If you already have, thank you so much. And if you haven't, what are you waiting for? This channel is gonna grow. But if you subscribe and you like our content, it's going to grow even faster. I think that's pretty much it, except for a quick plug to our website, the hardluckstore.com. It's got a lot of jewelry. We're going to put up a lot more. That's a funny way to say it. We're going to put up a lot of inventory, and it's awesome. So if you really like what we do, go check it out. I guarantee you'll love it too. And until next